Good morning, everyone, and welcome to on the IHI Call 11 on understanding how infections foster and induce non-communicable diseases. My name is Nassima, and I'm going to be a moderator today. And before we start, I just want to share some information with you. So if we move to the next slide. Firstly, we are recording this session and we will be publishing it on the IHI website. We will also publish the presentation slides. The call has been launched last week and all the links and details of how to apply have been published on the IHI website and the Funding and Funders portal. Another important point, if you have any questions, please use the chat function on the right corner of your screen and we will get them at the end of the presentation. Today, we will have two presenters. So we have Tech, who is scientific officer for this topic, and he's going to kick off with the presentation. And we also have Laurence Massia from Sanofi, who is going to present the topic itself. For the Q&A session, we also have online Lucie Rochard from Sanofi, Dana Arget from Alcimed, and Carolina, who is our legal officer. So now I will hand over to Tech.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much, Nassima, for this great introduction. So the purpose of today's webinars is to provide you with an introduction to IHI, the Innovative Health Initiative, the program. Then we will move on to the presentation of the topic 2 of IHI Call 11, which is going to be presented by Laurence Massia, as Nassima has mentioned. I will then move on to talk about briefly the proposal submission and the evaluation process and provide you with some tips for writing a successful proposal. This, we want to alert you that this webinar will not cover the rules and procedures. This will be addressed in a separate webinar next week, but you will hear more about the schedule of the different webinars at the end of this session. So without further ado, for those of you who are not very familiar with, the Innovative Health Initiative is an European partnership in health between the European Commission and 5 life science associations such as COSIR, FPI, EuroPBio, MedTech Europe, and Vaccine Europe. So all of them covering the entire spectrum of the healthcare industry in the EU, medical imaging, vaccines, drugs, biotechnology, etc. The general objective of IHI is really to turn health research and innovation into real benefits for patients and society. We aim to deliver safe, effective health innovations covering the entire spectrum of care, as you've seen represented by the 5 European Life Science Associations, going from prevention to diagnostic and treatment, particularly in the areas where there is an unmet public health need. And an ultimate goal is really to make the European health industries globally more competitive. Our projects are created via open and competitive calls for proposals. We want to have cross-sectoral private partnership, leveraging contributions from industrial partners, from the IHI industry associations. And sometimes, as you will see in this topic text, we have also contributing partners joining in the pre-identified industry consortium. And we are providing public funding via Horizon Europe, the program of the European Commission. IHI strategic research innovation agenda is to provide this foster cross-sectoral approaches in order to facilitate the creation of new products and services to prevent, intercept, diagnose, treat, and manage diseases and foster recovery more efficiently. The goal is really to lay the foundations for the development of safer and more effective healthcare products or solutions responding to unmet public health needs that can be implemented ultimately into the healthcare systems. All research at IHI should remain at pre-competitive level. So how does we work? Call 11 is a 2-stage procedure, meaning that the industry consortium, so the pre-identified industry consortium, get together, identify the challenges that they'd like to tackle together, and we publish a topic text. So this is what you can see on our website for Call 11. Those are the challenges that were identified by the pre-identified industry consortium. We are looking for public applicants getting together in order to provide a strategy to respond to the challenges that were identified by our pre-identified industry members. So this is what we call the stage 1 short proposal submission. So you write a short proposal, providing the strategy that you see would be the best to tackle the objectives and challenges identified by our pre-identified industry consortium. The best short proposal, the applicant consortium who have submitted the best strategy, then will be invited to meet with the pre-identified industry consortium and work together on a full proposal that will be submitted and evaluated at a stage 2 evaluation. So the stage 1 evaluation is a competitive one, and whereas the stage 2 is a go, no go decision based on what you have provided. If successful, then we will enter into a grant and granting phase. And without further ado, I give the floor to Laurence to talk about the topic text. And Laurence, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Tech. Good morning, everyone. So it's my great pleasure to present this project, which is around understanding how infection foster and induce non-communicable disease. Next slide, please. So as you can see from those two graphics, non-communicable disease is a major cause of death from the age roughly of 40. So it includes cancer, cardiovascular disease, respiratory disease, and so on. And you can also see from those graphs that it's the mortality linked to those non-communicable disease increase with age. So there is clearly a need for innovative, preventive, and therapeutic approaches to really address the burden of non-communicable disease. Next slide, please. So why are people developing non-communicable disease? We know that it's very complex, multifactorial, including genetic and environmental factor. And if we look at the environmental factor, we always have the usual suspect like diet, high blood pressure, tobacco, and so on. But what's very interesting is that in the top 10, we have infection as a major risk factor for the development of non-communicable disease. Next slide, please. So the aim of this project is really to further understand the link between infection by viruses, by bacteria, and how those infections can lead to the development of non-communicable disease. We are interested in which infectious agents, so identifying a new virus or new bacteria. So it could be agents which are known in different contexts and make new link between those infections and non-communicable disease. Within this topic, we are particularly interested in cardiovascular and neurodegenerative disease. So it's identifying new pathogens and how they can trigger cardiovascular and neurodegenerative disease. We are also interested in the mechanism. Why does an infectious agent trigger those diseases? Is it due to the inflammation that will trigger damage? Is it due to specific signaling pathways? So we really want to understand why. And also which biomarker. We know that it's not everyone that will have this infection that will develop a non-communicable disease. For example, we know that Epstein-Barr virus has been linked to multiple sclerosis. 90% of the people carry the virus, and not everyone will develop the disease. So we really want to know which individual is at risk at developing cardiovascular disease or neurodegenerative disease after an infection. Next slide, please. So here is a success story, and that's why we think it's important to really go deeper into this project. As you can see in yellow, this is the incidence of cervical cancer in women who haven't been vaccinated. We can see in blue that if women have been vaccinated from the age of 17, between 17 and 30, we can decrease by 30–40% the incidence of cervical cancer. But what's striking is that if the vaccination is below the age of 17, we have a real drop in the incidence of cervical cancer. So what this slide tells us is that identifying the pathogen, so in this case, the human papillomavirus, is critical for the right intervention. So in this context, this is vaccination, prophylactic, but also at the right timing. So we need to have all this information if we want to develop new prophylactic or therapeutic intervention to target the right pathogen and the right population. Next slide, please. So why do we think that we need a private-public partnership to tackle this thing? Because we think that we have very complementary skills. What we need to tackle those diseases is more knowledge, and that's what really the public sector is doing. We need to understand which pathogen, how does it trigger the disease, and in this context, industry cannot answer those questions. Because it's very complex, we need a multidisciplinary approach. So we need people from biochemistry, from immunology and so on, data science, because again, this is very complex and we need to tackle the issue from multiple avenues. We need to have access to cutting edge capabilities. So in R&D, we do have access to capabilities which are fit for purpose. But in this context, we need to very high-tech technology like spatial transcriptomic, for instance, if we want to understand the pathway. And we really think that it's working with public sector that we are going to have access to those technology. You also may have access to patient cohort, biobank, and epidemiological data. Now, what can we bring? We have a very different approach. We are interested in knowledge, but particularly in translation, like from bench to bedside. How can we implement approach to? How can we implement new approach to really improve the patient's quality of life? We have internal resources, skill sets, and we don't have the same approach. The idea is from the knowledge generated, how can we develop new drug or new vaccine? To really help the people, and we have regulatory knowledge and market implementation. So in the context of this particular consortium, drug development, regulatory and market implementation is not really a focus because this is pre-competitive, but it's just to give a flavor of what industry is about compared to public sector. So we think that by working together, we will enhance disease understanding. We will accelerate innovation through the discovery of new biomarkers, and really the idea is to enhance the impact on the patient. Can we diagnose at early stage the disease? Can we have better strategy to really improve the quality of life? And we can also share resources. Next slide, thank you. So what is in the scope of this topic? We have three main areas of interest, and the first one, as I said, is identifying the pathogen. So we are expecting to have access to very good method to really identify an association and even better a causal link between an infectious agent and non-communicable disease. And the idea is really to leverage existing cohort and biobank, because in the timeline, which is 5 years, it's very, very challenging to generate a cohort and get data. So we really want to have access to existing cohorts and leverage this to understand and identify new pathogen and their link to non-communicable disease. We also expect AI modeling, statistical tool to really predict and analyze very complex data sets. So that's the first scope. The second one is the biomarker discovery. So who is going to develop the disease post-infection? It's really to stratify the population. And again, for biomarker discovery, it will be multi-omic approach, immune profiling, and exposome analysis, such as the gut microbiome, which we know can play a multiple role in disease development. And again, this is to supplement existing cohort and not create new cohorts. And finally, mechanism of action. So understand how those infectious agents can drive non-communicable disease, which pathway are triggered, which receptor are involved. And again, it's about using tissue samples which are available, develop new preclinical model with very high translational potential. So that will help understand what's happening in human, and in silico model. Next slide, please. So what do we expect from this project? And the number one is really new knowledge. We want to understand further the disease and the link between infectious agent and the disease. We expect innovative approach, so use AI, multi-omic, existing data really to uncover how infection can trigger disease development. We are hoping through new biomarker discovery that potentially we can diagnose earlier disease development, and this is to support a better quality of life. So it's to prevent health decline, reduce healthcare costs through early action. And in the end, in the long term, and not in the scope of this particular project, it's to develop new therapeutic or new vaccine to really prevent or treat the disease. Next slide, please. So the expected impact, we are hoping that it will boost the innovation in healthcare, promote the use of AI, multi-omic and advanced diagnostic to reinforce really the EU leadership in health innovation. We're hoping to reduce the long-term disease risk through the development of targeting strategy to prevent the disease development or really treat at early stage. It will slow and halt the disease progression by identifying new biomarkers to indicate when and how we should intervene. And again, like the priorities to improve the quality of life. So support healthy aging, which is a priority of the EU, prevent health decline by really early on intervention. And this is to reduce both the societal and healthcare costs. We are hoping that the solution that could result from this project will lead to faster access to cost-effective intervention. So that will speed up the EU's ability to tackle those major chronic diseases. So again, cardiovascular disease and neurodegenerative disease by using efficient tools. And this is fully aligned to support the EU policy, which are like aligned with the key EU initiative like the European Health Data Space and the EU Artificial Intelligence Act. Next slide, please. So what will be the contribution of the industry participant? So we have expertise in neurodegenerative and cardiometabolic disease. We have expertise in infectious disease, immunology. We have department for biomarker identification who can work with the public participant of the consortium to support the identification of biomarker. And we also have like lots of work in machine learning, AI, and in bioinformatics. We will facilitate the access to cohorts such as the EPND, so the European Platform for Neurodegenerative Disease. And we can also support the analysis capacity of multi-omic immune profiling and sequencing. Next slide, please. So what do we expect from the public participant? We are after strong expertise in immunology, microbiology, virology, again, data science and bioinformatics with expertise in population level data analysis, and also neuroscience, neuroimmunology, and cardiovascular disease. We are expecting cutting-edge technology, so the ability to do advanced sequencing, metagenomic, single-cell analysis, spatial transcriptomic, and so on. The ability to isolate the pathogen and culture to confirm that the link between the pathogen and the non-communicable disease. And we are after very relevant, again, translational preclinical model. So animal model is sometimes there is no other option, which would be fine, but if we could have access to non-animal models such as organoid, organ on chip, tissue culture, and so on, that would be even better. And we expect that you have your own access to cohort, exposome data, and biobank. So what infrastructure are we after? Again, access to large and diverse patient cohorts, database, the use potentially of digital twin to model infection and non-communicable disease risk, and the contribution to sustainable output and regulatory engagement. Next slide, please. So the contribution, like the funding for this consortium will be in total of just over $16 million with over 8 million of in-kind and over 8 million in cash. And the project has to be run over 60 months, so it's a 5-year project. Thank you. So I think this is it for me.
Thank you very much, Laurence, for this very good introduction to the topic text. Just as an erratum, the budget is in euro, not dollar, as Laurence has said, so that the total budget is over 16 million euros, out of which 7 million, more than 7 million, is for IHI public side of the applicant. So we move on to the submission of the proposal and the evaluation. The proposal is divided into 3 parts. Part A of, so that the proposal template is divided into 3 parts. Part A of the proposal is where you will be requested to provide the administrative data presenting in web forms through the funding and tender portals that you enter through the web formats in the funding and tenders portal. The part B of your proposal is really the technical part, the narrative part, including 3 sections: excellence, impact, quality, and efficiency of the implementation. I will come back to that. We really invite you to read the instructions carefully in the proposal templates, because those are the documents that the evaluator will use in order to evaluate your proposal. And the last part of the proposal template is the annex, whereby you will be requested to fill in the form describing the participant type in your applicant consortium. The narrative part, so part B of your proposal template, is divided, as we have seen earlier, into 3 parts: the excellence, impact, quality, and efficiency of the implementation. And this is very important because those are the 3 criteria under which your proposal will be evaluated by our panel of reviewers. So under excellence, the experts are requested to evaluate the clarity and pertinence of your proposal objectives and the extent to which the proposed work is ambitious and goes beyond the state of the art. The second sub-criterion is on the soundness of your proposed methodology. So it's very important that you provide clearly the evidence to convince our panel of experts. The second criteria is on impact, under which the panel will look into the credibility of the pathways to achieve the expected outcomes and impacts specified in the work program, and the likely scale and significance of the contributions due to the project. And the last criterion is on quality and efficiency of the implementation, where the panel will look into the quality and effectiveness of the outline of the work plan, the capacity and role of each participant in the applicant consortium, and the extent to which the applicant consortium as a whole brings together the necessary expertise to implement the work that you proposed. Last, I'm going to finalize with the tips for applicant, and those are taken from the previous calls, IHI calls. We can't stress enough that you should read all the relevant material, especially the call topic text, because this is the reference document against which your proposal will be evaluated. So that we provide here the link where you can find the call topic text. Likewise, it's very important to form your consortium very early. As Laurence has presented earlier, you've seen that the scope is very broad, that the pre-identified industry consortium expect from the applicant side of the consortium to provide quite a wide range of expertise. And therefore, it's important that you form your consortium very early in order to gather all the requested expertise in order to fulfill the, in order to tackle the challenges that were presented. We are a public-private partnership, and therefore it is important that in your proposal, you should think in terms of public-private partnership. We want you to work together. We want it to be cross-sectoral, and that's very important. Ensure that all information requested in the call text and the proposal templates are provided in order to allow the evaluation, the panel of experts to easily access your proposal against the evaluation criteria. It's important as well because we want our projects to have an impact. So it's very important to consider and plan potential regulatory impact of the generated results from the proposal very early on, so that we have a guide on that, and we invite you to have a look into our guide for a regulatory impact. How can you find potential applicants to form a consortium? There are different tools that are available. First of all, the EU Funding and Tenders portal have a partner search tool available that you can use. Get in touch with your IHI national contact point. I've seen that at least one is here with us today and has put a message on the chat. You can find your national contact point on IHI website, and use your network and social media. That's a very good source of to find partners as well. And with that, I'm going to leave the floor to Nassima, who will walk us through the following webinars on that.
Thank you very much, Tech, and thank you, Laurence, for your presentation. So before promoting the following webinars that we have, I will really encourage you to drop your question in the chat box, because as you've seen in the presentation of Laurence, the last slide was that you cannot contact them directly, contact the topic writer. So this is your only chance to ask them questions during the webinar. So before we move to the Q&A session, I would like to promote the webinars that we will have for Call 11. So you can see that we will have another one this afternoon, and we'll have one on Tuesday and one on Wednesday, and two next Monday. So I will encourage you to register if it's not done yet. So now we can move to the Q&A session. So I will ask all the panelists to switch on the camera, and we can stop sharing the presentation. So the first question is, are you expecting basic science as part of the consortium?
Okay, I think it's for me. So yes, absolutely. So whole point is to generate new knowledge. So we really want to have basic research as part of the consortium. Absolutely.
Thank you, Laurence. The next one is, which biomarkers would you like to see?
Well, the relevant one, so I expect proteomic, metabolomic, lipidomic, antibody, anything that can really help us identify the population at risk of developing the non-communicable disease. So, yeah.
Thank you, Laurence. Then we have, is cancer out of scope? Could you please confirm?
Yes, it is out of scope.
That is clear. Then we have, should the project focus on adults only, or do you expect to include pediatric studies as well?
Well, if it's a pediatric population that develop cardiovascular disease or a neurodegenerative disease post-infection, this is in the scope. So it's really the disease and the pathogen, whatever the age population, basically.
Thank you. Then we have, are other non-communicable diseases, not neuro or cardiovascular, are out of scope, for example, liver disease?
Yes, it is. And it's the same for cancer. It would be too broad. So we really had to align with our partner and pick two diseases just to be able to get enough data at the end. So we had to make a choice, and this is neurodegenerative and cardiovascular disease only.
Okay. Do you expect to have markers fully developed within the 5 years of the study?
We expect as much as possible in the 5 years, actually. So.
Thank you. Then we have, which kind of data do you want to collect or already to have?
Which kind of data? So that will be blood, that will be from biopsy if available, and as I said, multi-omic type of data that we could integrate. It could be spatial transcriptomic to look at mechanistic, like the pathway that could be activated, information on the inflammation. It's a very vague, this question, but basically that's any data that could inform us on the link between pathogen and those diseases and the mechanism of action.
Thank you. Then we have a question, can SMEs participate in a consortium?
I can take that one.
Yeah.
For all questions related to the rules of participation, I really invite you to attend our special webinars on participation that will be next week. But very briefly, yes, for a two-state proposal, SMEs can participate in a consortium. But once again, all the questions related to participation rules, I invite you to attend the webinars next week.
Thank you, Tech. Then we have, are you interested in using aging mouse models for CVD research? I think. Do you want me to repeat the question, Laurence, maybe?
Yes, I think I lost the connection. I'm sorry.
So are you interested in using aging mouse models for CVD research?
Yes. Anything that could help us inform on how infection can trigger cardiovascular disease is relevant. Absolutely.
Thank you. Then someone is asking, is Alzheimer's disease included in the call or dementia?
Both.
Both of them, okay.
So yes, it's in the scope, yeah.
Can we use novel methods where it might be risky or uncertain whether they would work?
Yes, it's an innovative project, so we do appreciate that it's risky indeed, but it has to be. We need a good rationale for the risk, I guess, but we don't expect everything to. We know how research works, in short. So yes, risk taking, but for the right reason is in the scope. I think you missed a question. You missed one about non-animal primates.
Sorry, which one?
From Jinte Middeldorp.
Oh, wait,
Head of
because
neurobiology and aging.
we got a lot of questions indeed.
This is the one after Alzheimer. I think you missed this one.
I mean, if you see just.
Yeah, I will just answer.
Okay.
What is my opinion on the use of non-human primates? So if it's the only model that is really insightful, I'm happy for the use of non-human primate. I know it's been very helpful in the past, so I don't personally have any issue with working on animals. So that's the thing is with the FDA pushing for new preclinical model, I think it could be an opportunity to develop new innovative preclinical model. But again, if we have a very good animal model to address this question, we would welcome it.
Thank you, Laurence. I'm moving to the next one because I don't take them in order, so that's why maybe I'm. But if you see one that I've missed, just say it out loud. So preclinical measures, phenotypes are widely used in CVD research in children and adolescents who rarely have CVD events. What are your thoughts on these measures?
I'm trying to find it. My thought is that maybe children and adolescents are not. I mean, that's a very big challenge. Like I do understand that some disease will develop years and years after infection, so that's something we should take into account and do a retrospective analysis. So if you have evidence that children and adolescents post-infection will develop cardiovascular disease, this is in the scope, but it's a very tricky question. Like we do know that the timeline between infection and disease can be very long. So this is something to consider when you propose your projects.
Thank you, Laurence. Then the next one is, are extracellular vesicles of interest in this call as a source of biomarkers and a way to understand mechanism of the disease?
Absolutely. And we know more and more that EV can be a readout of what's happening in tissue, so which could be very helpful when we only have access to blood. I know in Alzheimer it could be insightful. So yes, EV are totally in the scope of biomarker identification.
Okay. Then someone is asking, are you mostly looking for one pathogen, one disease, or also one pathogen that can lead to multiple NCDs?
Both, one pathogen, one disease, one pathogen, multiple NCDs, and multiple pathogen, one NCDs actually. So it's really the link we are interested in, and it will depend on the project, I guess.
Thank you. Then we have, is the development of diagnostics tools for the identified biomarkers in the scope?
I don't think we'll have time to develop diagnostic tool from the biomarker. I think the trick will be to identify the biomarker, and then if some diagnostic tool could be developed, why not? But I don't think it's realistic in the 5-year timeline. So,
yeah, thank you. Then we have, do neglected tropical diseases make a chance, or is the scope more on global neurodegenerative diseases?
So we want a broad impact. So if it's a disease that is fairly common, like Alzheimer's, I think it's good. But if it's, I think it's still in the scope, because we want to understand new link between infection and non-communicable disease. So it doesn't have to be only the most common disease, actually.
Okay. Among the objectives of the project is to develop a diagnostic kit to diagnose a subject's predisposition to develop cardiovascular or neurodegenerative diseases following infection, ?
And that's a very long-term objective, and it's not part of this consortium. So really, it's to get all the knowledge necessary to develop better diagnostic, better prophylactic, and better therapeutic intervention. So it's not in the scope of this consortium to develop new diagnostic tool.
Okay. Does EPND or other biobanks keep oral swabs or saliva from cardiovascular diseases patients?
So EPND is more a neurodegenerative disease, and I think there are pages with the full description of what samples were collected from the patient. So I don't have the answer to this question, but it can be found online actually. And I think Tech can confirm because that was an IHI as well. So
then we move on to the next one. Is it not possible to explore already known links of virus infections further? For example, many viruses are known to be linked to CVD, but no mechanism or treatments are known yet.
yeah, so that's important, and it's exactly the point of this project, is to really understand the causal link and not just association and the mechanism of action. So yes, that's in the scope.
Yeah. Then we have someone asking, is diabetes out of scope?
Well, it's part of the broad cardiovascular disease spectrum, I guess. So depending on how you write, I think it can be in the scope.
Thank you. Can the effects of viral infections in the context of kidney transplantation be considered cardiovascular problems?
I think it's a bit of a stretch. I don't think so.
Okay. Then we have another one. Can the effects, no, this I already said. Are associations of infection and autoimmune disease in the scope? For example, the role of viral infections contributing to the onset of type 1 diabetes?
So type 1 diabetes being neither a neurodegenerative nor a cardiovascular disease, it is not in the scope. But multiple sclerosis, for instance, is a neurodegenerative disease, so would fall in the scope of this topic. So autoimmune disease, yes, but in the context of cardiovascular and neurodegenerative disease.
Thank you. How many different neurodegenerative diseases do you want to include? Do you want to do different pilots?
I'm not sure. It depends on the quality of the proposal, I guess. We don't want to have any restriction at this stage. We want something that is realistic within 5 years. So we want insightful data. If it's pilot with so little number of participants that we hardly conclude anything, I think it wouldn't be the best ideal scenario. So we want the right sweet spot where we have enough information on as many things as possible, I would say.
Thank you. Are you interested in including pediatric and adolescent populations suffering cardiomyopathies following viral infections?
Yes, because then it's in the cardiovascular space.
And then we have, is the link with SARS-CoV-2 to NCDs in scope?
So it has to be linked again to cardiovascular and neurodegenerative disease, and it has to be new. So if it's something that has been already been well established and shown, then it's not in the scope. If it's a new link between SARS-CoV-2 and unknown neurodegenerative disease or unknown cardiovascular complications, then it is in the scope.
Okay. Transplant cohorts are mentioned in the call. What is expected here?
I don't think we mentioned transplant cohort.
No?
I can answer
No,
this. I can answer that one.
no.
Sorry. So the point of including those in the proposal is because given the very short timeline, we are trying to maximize the use of previously collected data. And the benefit of using transplant cohorts is that the suppression of the immune system can give rise to a lot of latent infections and sort of inform what comes after, or give you a better pretext for understanding the immediacy of the link between an infection and a non-communicable disease at its onset. So it's meant to say take previously established transplant cohorts and use those to confirm what you get from other research avenues, if that helps to clarify.
Thank you, Dana. Then we have someone else asking, is the focus CVD or cardiometabolic disease? If diabetes is in the scope, then also obesity.
Okay, obesity would be in the scope in the context of cardiovascular disease. We don't want to call on weight gain or other complications that are not cardiovascular.
Thank you. Then we have, our vaccines in the scope, how this impacts the link between infection and chronic disease.
Yes, absolutely. If you can get evidence from vaccine data that an infection can trigger cardiovascular or neurodegenerative disease and then bring causal link, that's in the scope.
Then we have someone asking, we might have an idea for a project that seems to fit and that we could support based on our existing databases. Is there a chance to discuss it with the private sector consortium members before stage 1 deadline?
No. So the answer to that question is no. You can't contact the pre-identified industry members. So this is the rule. It's a competitive call, so that you can't.
Yeah. Thank you, Tech. Would Epstein-Barr virus infection and multiple sclerosis fall into this call, even though it's well established that there is a link?
Well, if it brings new data, new information on biomarker, for instance, or that would fall into this call. We don't want to reproduce what has already been published, but if it does complement and really inform, that would fall into the scope of this consortium.
Okay, and then I still see one question. Is the development of new vaccines included in this call?
Not by the private sector because it's pre-competitive. It's really about establishing new link between infection and non-communicable disease. So vaccines should come after.
Okay, thank you, Laurence. I don't see any other question unless I have missed one. I don't see. I see that people are putting their links, which is good. No, I don't see any more questions. Just looking at my colleagues she's helping me. No. So do not hesitate to drop your question, because as we already say, that's your only chance to talk to the topic writers. Otherwise there won't be any other chance. Let's give some few minutes, otherwise we'll close this webinar. And don't forget to attend the rules and procedure next Monday morning. You'll have all the information on the eligibility. I see some new questions. Some viruses are associated to endothelial inflammation, and viral-driven chronic inflammation is one of the causes of kidney transplant failure. Is this a CVD topic?
Yes, because you have the endothelial inflammation aspect. So
Okay.
it is in the scope.
And someone would like you to confirm that we have to choose between neurodegenerative or cardiovascular disease.
Depends on the consortium, depends on the team, I guess. If you can do both, I don't think we should just restrict people to pick one if they can deliver on both type of disease. So no, you can do both actually.
Okay. Someone has missed the question. Could you repeat the answer to, is the development of new vaccines included in the call?
No, it's not.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's written in the call topic text. So once again, please read the call topic text. If you look at page 25, on top of the page, it's written that no product development is expected from this action in the proposed timeline.
Thank you, Tech. Then we have infections and cardiovascular diseases during the pregnancy is in the scope.
Yes, absolutely. If it's a new link between infection and cardiovascular disease, as I said, at different stage of life, it's fine. Yeah.
Perfect. I don't see. See, there is a new one. Is studying the putative protection from the vaccine for long-term consequences of the infection in the scope?
What's in the scope is to establish a new link between infection and disease by looking at data on vaccine. It's a tricky one. So depending on the data that you are going to look at, what we want is new causal link between infection and the cardiometabolic and neurodegenerative disease.
Thank you. We have another one. Is it mandatory to target a virus/bacteria or look, for example, in cohort of patients with obesity and look for the presence of an infection that can drive the disease?
So the whole point is to identify the type of infection. So presence of infection is good, but we need the agent. We need to identify the pathogen.
Okay. Yeah, here my colleague just put a reminder to look at page 25 of the topic text. So no product development is expected for this action in the proposed timeline. So yeah, as Tech said, please read the topic text carefully. Everything is in there. We have another question. Is viral induced senescence as a driver of CVD in aging an accepted topic?
So in this case, it's accelerated aging that would trigger cardiovascular disease. So it's a bit indirect, but I think it's still in the topic.
Thank you. So I don't know what you think, but can we close this webinar? I don't see any more questions. So I will say thank you very much to Tech, Lucie, Dana, Laurence, and Carolina. Thank you all for your interest, and I wish you good luck with your proposal. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.